Habits that make you weak. Transform your life with Stoicism. To live with a clear aim and strong bounce-back abilities, we need a tough mind and self-control. Some habits can make our minds less strong and stop us from doing our best. But if we change how we act and think, we can build a really strong mindset. This helps us steer our own lives. In today's video, we'll check out 8 habits that make us mentally less strong using teachings from Stoicism. We'll see how complaining, blaming others, going overboard with things and letting emotions control us can hold us back. Number 1. Procrastination of time. Procrastination, or putting things off, can really mess with getting stuff done. It happens with work, things you want to do for yourself, or even just your regular chores. Stoicism, this old-school way of thinking, gives some solid advice to help you stop procrastinating and actually get things rolling. According to Stoicism, the main reason we procrastinate is because we kind of mess up what's important and what we can control. Sometimes we delay stuff because we're scared lazy, or we think other stuff is way more important than it really is. Stoicism teaches us to fix these mistakes and focus on what we can do, because that's all that's really up to us. So how do you put this Stoic stuff into action to stop stalling and start doing it? First off, figure out what's holding you back. Once you know what's up, question if it really makes sense to be held back by that. Next, forget about the stuff you can't control and just focus on what you can. Finally, don't wait around. Stoicism says, do what you got to do now, because the present is where it's at. Some practical ways to really live by these Stoic ideas. Keep a list of what you need to do, just like Marcus Aurelius did with his journal. And at the end of the day, take a sec to look back at what you've done and how you can do even better next time. By following these Stoic tips, you can beat procrastination and get stuff done like a champ. It's all about focusing on what's important and acting now instead of waiting around. So, let's get to it and make the most of every moment. Number 2. Avoiding challenges. In our daily lives, we often face a tough balancing act, the challenge of pushing ourselves to grow while avoiding the pitfalls of burnout. This balance is crucial for our personal and professional development. In this post, we'll delve into practical strategies inspired by Stoicism that can help us navigate this delicate equilibrium. One key Stoic principle is identifying what's within our control. By focusing our energy on tasks and challenges that we can influence, we can sidestep unnecessary stress and the risk of burnout. Setting realistic goals is another Stoic approach. Instead of aiming for perfection, which can be unattainable, strive for progress in achievable, measurable steps. Stoicism also provides a perspective on self-imposed pressure. While challenging oneself is virtuous, Stoics caution against excessive self-imposed stress. According to Stoic philosophy, virtue lies in the effort we put in, not necessarily in achieving specific outcomes. Developing a healthy routine is emphasized as well. Consistency in tasks and self-care, according to Stoicism, is vital for long-term success without burnout. Emotional resilience, a crucial skill in the face of stress, is also addressed by Stoicism. Being mindful of our reactions to challenges can foster emotional resilience, helping us steer clear of burnout. The philosophy suggests a practice called negative visualization, which involves considering worst-case scenarios. This exercise helps us realize that our fears and stresses are often exaggerated in our minds, easing self-pressure and lowering the risk of burnout. It's essential to pay attention to how we feel as we take on challenges. If stress and anxiety become consistent companions, it might be time to reassess our approach. Stoicism teaches adaptability and flexibility, emphasizing long-term well-being over short-term gains. But first, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Legion and hit the bell icon. That's how you'll catch all our newest Stoic lessons without missing a beat. Number 3. Indulging in excessive materialism. The Stoics say too much of good things like yummy food, booze, fun times, and even lovey-dovey stuff is a no-no. They think it's cool to enjoy these things a little bit, but if you go overboard, it can mess things up. It might make us forget what's really important and even make us do silly stuff. If you learn to control yourself, it can make you stronger inside. Let's say you eat tons or drink loads when things get rough. Sure, it might help you feel better for a bit, but in the long run it's not great. It's better to keep things in check and find better ways to deal with stress. The Stoics, these old wise folks from way back when they thought being too much into pleasure could make people forget about what's truly important in life. They said that while enjoying the good stuff is cool, too much of it might mess things up. It could make us lose focus on what matters and end up making not-so-great choices. They believed that having control over yourself could make you stronger on the inside. Imagine you have a huge feast or party. Every time things get a bit tough, it might feel good at first, but in the long run, it might cause more trouble. It's better to find balance and find healthier ways to handle stress. The Stoics were big on keeping a clear head and not getting too carried away with things that make us feel good. They thought that if we don't watch out, these things might distract us from what's important. They believed in having control over yourself to become stronger mentally. Number 4, seeking external validation. Seeking external validation is a habit deeply ingrained in our societal fabric. We often seek validation from others, craving acknowledgement and approval for our actions, choices, and even our existence. This incessant quest for external validation can weaken us in numerous ways, often leading to dependency on others' opinions, fluctuating self-worth based on feedback, and a diminished sense of self. Stoicism offers a transformative path away from this dependency on external validation. At its core, Stoicism advocates for self-reliance, inner strength, and resilience in the face of external circumstances. It encourages individuals to focus on what's within their control rather than fixating on external factors. The incessant need for validation can be seen as a product of placing too much emphasis on externals, how others perceive us, judge us, or appreciate us. Stoicism teaches the importance of internal validation, finding contentment within oneself, irrespective of external opinions. By practicing Stoicism, individuals learn to cultivate a sense of self-worth and fulfillment that isn't contingent on others' approval. One of the fundamental principles of Stoicism is the concept of apatheia, which doesn't mean lack of emotion, but rather the ability to acknowledge emotions without being controlled by them. This emotional resilience empowers individuals to handle both praise and criticism with equanimity, not letting external opinions sway their inner peace. Stoicism also encourages introspection and self-reflection, allowing individuals to evaluate their actions, beliefs, and values based on internal standards rather than societal expectations. By focusing on virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, Stoicism helps in shaping a robust character, less vulnerable to the whims of external validation. Number 5, inability to cope with negative emotions. The Stoic way of handling tough feelings and behaviors involves getting to know yourself better, accepting what you can't change, and concentrating on your thoughts and actions. Imagine 3 scenarios and how a Stoic might handle them. Let's say you're really mad about something. A Stoic would realize that it's not the situation itself making them angry, but their own thoughts and beliefs about it. They'd try to shift those thoughts, reminding themselves that they can't control what happens, only how they react. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, put it like this: "It's not what happens that upsets you, it's your judgment about it." Now think about procrastination. A Stoic would understand that it often comes from fear or worry about a task. To beat it, they'd focus on their own actions and thoughts, not what's happening around them, and commit to taking small steps toward their goal every day. Epictetus, another Stoic, said, "You get closer to your goal not by luck, but by working on yourself every day." Lastly, let's consider coping with loss. If someone dear passes away, a Stoic would see death as a natural part of life, something they can't control. Instead of focusing on what they can't change, they'd concentrate on their own thoughts and actions, trying to find meaning in the loss. Seneca, a Stoic thinker, noted, "Life isn't inherently good or bad, it's what we make of it." In each situation, Stoics emphasize understanding your thoughts, accepting what's beyond your control, and concentrating on what you can change, your own actions and responses. Number 6. Negative self-talk. Stoic philosophy teaches a method called premeditatio malorum, which means thinking about the worst things that could happen. It's like picturing in your mind the really bad stuff that might happen. First, it's about realizing that tough things might come our way, but they're not guaranteed to happen. Second, it's thinking about how we would handle those tough situations if they did happen. This way of thinking helps with anxiety. When you imagine the worst stuff, you realize that you could handle it. It's like telling your mind, hey, even if the worst happens, I won't fall apart. So you don't get stuck in those scary thoughts. Even the worst things don't seem as bad when you've thought about them beforehand. Something surprising about this thinking is that it makes you appreciate what you have more. You start to see that you might lose the things you care about, like relationships, your stuff, your daily routines, and it makes you grateful for having them right now. Now, how does Stoicism help with self-doubt? Stoics aim for a good life, which they call a eudaimonic life. This means living in a way that's good for you. To do this, you need to understand yourself, both as a person in general and as an individual, with your own strengths and weaknesses. Stoicism suggests asking yourself 3 questions every day. What went well? What didn't go well? Where can I do better? By doing this, you become more aware of where you're strong and where you might need some work. It's like shining a light on your good parts, and when you keep doing this every day, you start feeling more confident about yourself. It's a way to build up your belief in yourself over time. Number 7. Dwelling on past mistakes. Imagine you can't really choose what you do. Everything you've ever done, every choice you've made, it's like you had no other option. Sometimes you look at others and feel bad because you're not as good or successful as they seem. But if there's no free will, then feeling bad about yourself isn't even possible. Sounds strange, right? Well, here's another kicker. You can't even feel proud of the good stuff you've done either. It's like both shame and praise are out the window. Someone once said something pretty clever. The past is gone, the future isn't here yet, so all that's real is the present moment. But then, that present slips away and becomes the past in the blink of an eye. That's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? It's like time keeps moving, and we're always in this fleeting moment called now. You know those things people call virtues, like bravery, honesty, or grit? Turns out you don't really hand those qualities to yourself like a gift. They're not in your control. What you can try to control, though it's not always easy, is understanding why things happen, why people act the way they do, and maybe, just maybe, why you do what you do. So if you stop for a moment and think about it, it's like saying you're not entirely responsible for everything you do or how you feel about it. It's a bit freeing, right? Like taking a step back and realizing that maybe the way you see yourself isn't the only way things could be. There's more to it than meets the eye. Number 8. Ignoring the well-being of others. Ignoring the well-being of others is often a symptom of a self-centered approach to life. In the context of Stoicism, however, the focus isn't on ignoring others' well-being, but rather on cultivating a sense of inner strength and resilience, regardless of external circumstances. Stoicism, as a philosophy, doesn't advocate for neglecting the needs of others, but emphasizes the importance of controlling one's reactions to events, including those involving others' well-being. Habits that make you weak are often rooted in a lack of self-discipline, emotional volatility, and an inability to cope with adversity. Stoicism, on the other hand, promotes practices that strengthen mental fortitude. It encourages individuals to acknowledge and accept what they can't change, focusing instead on what they can control, their own thoughts, actions, and responses. A fundamental tenet of Stoicism is the development of indifference to external events that are beyond our control. This doesn't mean being callous or apathetic to the suffering of others, but rather understanding that we cannot always change or fix every situation. By accepting this reality, one can avoid being overwhelmed by emotions and instead channel their energy into productive actions. Stoicism encourages individuals to prioritize their inner virtues, such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, over external circumstances. This mindset shift can lead to a more compassionate and empathetic approach to others' well-being. Rather than being emotionally swayed or drained by every situation, a Stoic individual is better equipped to offer genuine help and support without being consumed by the distress of others. In short, following Stoic ideas can change how we think and act, making us stronger. By not holding on to too many feelings or wanting things we can't control, we can live with more meaning and bounce back easier. When we stop complaining and own up to our decisions, we grow. Stoicism teaches lasting lessons about building mental strength and living without limits. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing to our channel for more insights like this.